Hello everyone, welcome to Ajiro Tech. Ajiro Tech. In this video, you're going to be learning the Cambridge International AS and A-Level Information Technology with the course code 9626 variant 02. Paper 2 practical, and this is for the AS students. And this is a specimen paper for examinations from 2022 upward, and it's by special request. So I didn't want to do it, but again by special request, so I have to do it, right? All right. Total duration for this paper is 2 hours 30 minutes. The instructions are important. Go through it, right? Information for the paper is 90. You've been supplied with the following source files. So we're going to look at the spreadsheet part first. We'll come to video editing. We'll look at it. Tower Transport have asked Planet Savior PS to help them reduce their carbon emission from their buses traveling on a numbers of route. They need to identify buses that emit more carbon dioxide than expected. I see. For their calculations, they will assume that all seats on all buses are occupied by a passenger. So all the seats on all buses are occupied by a passenger. All time value, this is very important, by a passenger. All time value must be set in HHMMSSS and SS, which is hours, minute, and second format. You must use the most efficient method to solve each task. All document produced must be of a professional standard and suit the business context. Open and examine the file s2boss.csv and sboss_trips.csv in a spreadsheet. Okay, so I'm going to open it. I've extracted here, so I'm going to open it. I'm going to open this. So I've opened both of them. I can click here, double click. Okay, come here, select this, double click, select this, double click. Okay, save the s2boss_trip as a spreadsheet with the file name boss trip followed by a center number, candidate number. So I'm going to do this here, boss trip. So I'll copy it, file, save as, then come here to browse, and I'll paste it here. So replace this with my center number, AN017 2025 as a spreadsheet. So Excel workbook. Take note, you're saving it as what? As a spreadsheet. Step 5. In your boss trip spreadsheet, insert appropriate formula in row 17 to calculate the total trip for each boss. Now let me explain what this means here. Let's look at this. So this is the expected carbon dioxide level or passenger or minute. Yeah, and these are the bus numbers, the various bus numbers. These are the time that each of these bus numbers depart, starting from 5 o'clock to 8 p.m. every day. And these are the time it takes to arrive in these various locations. For example, if you arrive by expected time for this stage of the trip is this. This is expected time for each trip. And most of the time, there's a delay. Sometimes I think it mixes up, right? But if you look at it, you will see this, right? Now, this is like 15 minutes. This will take 7 minutes. And if you look at it, this time, the time it took, it arrives in 12 minutes. And then this also arrived in 16 minutes. And so these are the time for the time that they arrived. Okay, and these are the expected time for this stage of the trip. All right, the next one is, now take note, this is in kg, in kilogram. Now the next one is number of seats on the bus, right? Again, these are number of seats on the bus. Okay, so now they say what? We want to calculate total trip for each bus. So we want to know the total trip for each bus. So this is bus 45. What's the total trip that they made during this time? Right? So this is bus 45. At this time, it arrived in this, it took 60 minutes, it took this, it took that to arrive at all this time in this location, right? And in each of them, this is what they do. Now, each of the buses, these are the various arrival dates, arrival time rather, for these buses. And these are the time they depart. So we want to calculate the total trip. So to calculate the total trip, we're going to use the sum to calculate everything here. So this will be sum. I like this. So I have this. Now look at what they said. They said all time value must be set in HH. That's HHMMSSS. HHMMSS. Now to do this, we are going to come here to the number format. Under custom, change it to, you can see the way where this one is, change it to this, right? And then click on OK. So now we have this. So now we can now replicate this. All right. So now we have that. Let's move on. So this is done. Row 18, to look up the number of seats on each bus. So here we want to know, this is the bus number and this is number of seats. Okay. For each bus number, these are the seats, right? So for bus number 70, number of seats was what? 12. Okay. So to do that, we're going to use either a XLOOKUP or VLOOKUP. So I'm going to start with VLOOKUP equals to VLOOKUP, and then I'll switch to the XLOOKUP. So VLOOKUP is going to be this, comma, right here, we're going to highlight everything, shift control arrow right, arrow down, comma, what's the column index? What is what the seat number, which is what? 1, 2, 3. 3. This is going to be what? An exact match. So we have this. Okay. Now, if I were to use the XLOOKUP, it's going to be equals to XLOOKUP. What's the lookup value? The bus number, comma, what's the lookup array? Come here. Lookup array is going to be this. Shift control arrow down, comma. Then what are we returning? We are returning what? The seat number. Shift control arrow down. So this is what we are returning, comma. If not found, empty, and then exact match. Okay. And then we can replicate this for others. So now I can see for each of them, for each of the bus number, which is 90, if we check, you see that 90 is what? 90 is 24. And that's what we have there. All right. So this is done. Row 19, to calculate the carbon dioxide emission for each passenger. So I want to know for each passenger, right? So for each passenger, I want to know the carbon dioxide what? Emission for what? Each passenger. Now for us to be able to do that, we'll come here, carbon dioxide emission for each passenger. Look at it. And this is what each of them here. So I'll come here. So this is going to be equals to VLOOKUP. What's the lookup value? The bus number, comma, the table array is going to be everything here. Shift Control R right, arrow down. And what are we returning? We are returning 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. So now we have this. But now there's a problem here. This is for the emission here, right? This is for per bus. This is for per bus. But now the problem here is that we want to know for each passenger. Now, for us to be able to know for each passenger, it simply means that we need to divide, because these are the number of seats on the bus. So we want to know for one. So that means that we need to now divide it by what? Divide it by what? By this. Can you see that? So if I hit on enter, this is what we have. Because we're dividing it by what? By each passenger. So this is for the what? The VLOOKUP. Right? Again, so let me do the XLOOKUP. The XLOOKUP. I'm doing both because of students that might not have the, so this, the XLOOKUP function available for them, or feature available in their version of Excel. So I'm going to, so this is the lookup value, lookup array. This is what we want to return. Shift Control arrow down, and we can just end it here though. Just do this. Let me have an exact match. Very important. So we have this, and then I will divide it by what? By each passenger, which is this. So I have this. So I'm going to replicate for this. So I'm going to replicate for this. All right. So this is done. Row 20, to calculate the total kilogram of the carbon dioxide emission for this trip, use only the hour and minute from the total trip, rounding the number of seconds to the nearest minute. So what makes a minute? 60 seconds makes what? A minute. But we want to have in such a way that if it's 30 seconds, it can be what? 0.5 what? Minutes. So this should not be, this also can be rounded up to what? 1. Right? Okay. So let's see how we can do this. So here, they said hours and minutes. So we need to extract it. So to be able to do that, this will be equals to hour. Return what the number of hour from this. If we do the number of hour, what will it give? 4. That's 4 hours, right? Okay. So here, we're going to edit it. We're going to what? Multiply it by 60. Right? And then add it with what? The minutes. Because whatever we have, remember, what makes 1 hour? 60 minutes makes 1 hour. That's what we are doing. Okay? So here, add it with the minutes. The minute here is going to be what? This. So if we're looking at the minute here, what would the minute be? 17, right? Okay. So it's going to be this. Now, for us to be able to add it with, for us to be able to now get the second, for us to now be able to get the second that will be added to minute, we need to use a condition. To now say if, okay, if the second this second here. If the second, which is 19, now if this is 19, obviously it can't be 1 minute. So it has to be 30 and above, right? So if this right here is greater than equals to 30, so 30 and above is 0.5, right? So if we have this greater and equals to 30, then convert it to what? Just like I did here, as what? 1 minute. To what? 1 minute. Else, 0. Because you have 29, right? So from 30, 31, 32 to 60 is 1. Else we have what? This. So now we have everything here. So I'm going to do this here. So here we can see that the hour here, right, multiply by, so if we have 4 hours times 60, that will be 240 what? Minutes. Can you see that? 240 minutes. Before we can now add it with the minutes. That is why we are doing that. If we leave it at hour, it will not be able to work because we just have it at hour. So we need to now multiply with 60 so that it will not be minutes because we are doing hours and minutes. So for us to be able to now add it with the minutes, we now need to what? Multiply. So now we can now add it. Right? We can now add it with this minute here, right? Which remains the same. Then if it's greater than 30, we have this. So I've done that. Now they said to calculate the total kilogram of carbon dioxide emission for this trip. So now we want to calculate it with the what? The total number of seats of the bus. So we can now know the kilogram of carbon dioxide used for this journey. So we're now going to multiply it with total number of seats for this bus multiply by what? The emission for each passenger. So now we have this. Sorry, for each passenger, where is it? For each passenger, this one. Okay, so we have the hours converted to minutes. We added it with minutes, and then for us to be able to get the seconds in minutes, we're now saying if it's what? Greater or what? Equals to 30, that would give us what? 1 minute. And then we multiplied it with total numbers of seats and the emission for each passenger. So I'll hit on enter. Let me see. Okay, sorry, there's an error here. Yeah, I've seen the error. So this one is to close this if. We didn't close this one. So let's close this. Okay, better. Now look at it. They said kilogram used for this journey. Now you can see that this is showing in hours, minutes, and second. This should not be in hours, minutes, and second. They said rounded up to, we have done this. So this should be a value, right? So I'll come here. I'll click here, the number format, number or general. Just click on general. Click on general. So this will have it. So I can replicate. So this is how to do this. So this is done. A lot, and you're like, okay, do you have a private tuition? Don't you have? Do you have? And yes, Ajiro Tech do have a private tuition. So by my right, you can see that we have for the EdExcel and Cambridge IGCSE, and yes, we do have for all subjects. Okay, all subjects. Okay, the popular ones that's always been in demand is mathematics, English language as a second language. Okay, we have physics, we have biology, we have chemistry, and we have the flagship, which is ICT, just here and there. We also have business studies. So if you're interested for a private tuition,
I think all you have to do is send an email to the sales team at ajirotech@gmail.com, and they would reply to you, talk about your time zone, talk about, and the fee is really quite affordable. Really, it's really quite affordable. It's when you look at it across other tutoring service, I think this is the one that's quite affordable, and you get the very best of service. We also have for the E levels as well, and also for the EdXL. So we have for the Cambridge E levels and EdXL E levels. Okay, and we have also across the subject mathematics, which is usually the hot cake when it comes to E level, mathematics and chemistry, and then biology. These are usually one of the ones we have in demand always, all the time, even physics, for E level. So all you have to do, if you're watching this right now and you are interested for a private tuition, then you can do yourself a solid, okay, and send an email to the sales team at ajiro@gmail.com, and they will reply to you.
Buses are grouped by the numbers of seats. Okay. They are grouped by the numbers of seats. Numbers of seats in the bus. Okay. Numbers of buses in this group. Insert formula in row 24. So they are grouped. If you look at it, they are grouped here by the numbers of what? Seats. So look at it. Numbers of seats. That has been done. Insert formula in row 24 to calculate numbers of buses in each group. So we want to know now the numbers of buses in this group. So if you look at it, numbers of seats in this bus is 52, which is what we got here, right? You can see it there. When we did you can see this is what we have. We have, look at it here, numbers of seats. So we want to know the group. How many buses have 52 seaters? How many have 24? How many have 16? How many? Of course, we have 12-seater bus, right? We have 14-seater bus. We have 42, 16. We want to know how many buses have this. So for us to be able to know numbers of buses that have these numbers of seats, we need to count it. Can you see that? We need to what? We need to count. So this is going to be equals to count, right? What is, we need to count if, right? Count if, not count. Because the reason why we're using a count if is because it is based on a criteria. We want to know numbers of buses that are 12 seaters. We want to know numbers of buses that are what? 15 seaters. We want to know numbers of buses that are what? 16. We want to know numbers of buses that are what? 24. We want to know numbers of buses that are what? 26. Numbers of buses that are 42, 52, and 56. So the range here is going to be this, right? Comma. And this is going to be what? The criteria here. Okay, so I'll close this. So this is it. Now we need to now make this what? An absolute. Why are we making this an absolute? Because it needs to be constant when we are replicating. So that when I'm going to replicate here, is only what is changing here is going to be only what? The criteria. Does that make sense? Only going to be what? The criteria. Okay. So this is done. Row 25, to look up the numbers of buses in each group that meet the expected, right? That meet what? The expected what? CO2 what? Carbon dioxide what? Level. Now, for us to be able to do that, that meets, want to look up. It simply means that we need to now count, firstly, numbers of buses. Look at it. To want to look at numbers of buses that meet. We need to know the numbers of buses. That's one. Two, we need to also know, okay, the carbon dioxide emission per passenger. And if it meets this right here, so if you notice that, that is going to be what? A count if. A count if. So this is going to be equals to count if and the criteria range is going to be what? This. Shift Control arrow right to the end. Come here, comma. We're using this. Comma. The next one is going to be this, which is what? The carbon dioxide emission, right? The carbon dioxide emission for each passenger. Shift Control R right, comma. Then the criteria is going to be this, which is the expected carbon dioxide level this year. Okay. Now, for us to know if it meets, this is going to not just be this, because we want to know those that is less. If it's less, it meets. But if it's more, it doesn't. So we want to know those that is less and equals to it. So here is going to be less than, equals to, right? This right here. But what do you notice? You would notice that it's not saying this B1. So because I have two symbols here, I'm going to put this in what? In quote. It's still not saying it. Because of this symbol, we need to now give an and so that it can be able to properly reference that cell. So by giving it an and, you can see that it's now referencing the cell, right? It's now referencing what? The cell. So here, you are having that this is what? Numbers of seats in the bus. We want to know the group number of that, okay? And then we also want to know for each passenger what's the carbon dioxide emission and if it meets the expected level. I'll hit on enter. Again, I'm going to make this absolute because I want to replicate. So Fn plus F4, highlight, Fn plus F4, hit on enter. The criteria can be relative. So I'm going to what? Replicate. No, no, no. I'm going to make this. Look at this. This also has to be absolute. This also has to be absolute. Yes. Fn, F4. Hit on enter. So now I can replicate. Okay. All right. So this is done. Cell B26, enter formula in cell B26 to calculate the percentage of buses meeting the expected what? CO2 level. So we want to know the percentage of the buses that are meeting the expected level. For us to be able to know, this is going to be the sum of what? Of this meeting the expect this will be the bus of numbers of bus meeting the expected level all over the numbers of buses in the group. These are the numbers of buses that have what? 12 seaters. That have what? We have none for 15 seaters. That have 16 seaters. So we want to know now 2 is meeting. 10 is what? Meeting. 6 out of 19 is meeting the expected CO2 level. 2 out of 7. So there's a problem. There's a problem. So we want to know the percentage. So this is going to be equals to the sum of those that are meeting all over the sum of the numbers of buses what in the group. So we have this. So they say make it percentage. So come here, we'll add the percentage sign. Done. So we have what? 61%. So this is done. Apply appropriate formatting to your spreadsheet. This must include all carbon dioxide emission displayed to 4 decimal places. So right here, carbon dioxide emission displayed to what? 4 decimal places. So shift control arrow right. Come here to number format. Number. Decimal places is what? 4. So we have this. And the kilogram of what? Carbon dioxide display as integers. So the kilogram right here, which is shift control arrow right, integer, that's whole number. So come here, number format, number, I'll make it 0. Done. In row 19, for each trip, use conditional formatting to display the content of the cell as in row 19. So red text on a yellow background if the carbon dioxide emission is greater than the expected what? Level. So here, we come here, shift control arrow right, under conditional formatting, highlight cell rules greater than, if it's greater than what? Greater than what? Greater than the expected carbon dioxide level. So this is going to be what? This right here. If it's greater than what? If it's greater than this. So what is it going to be? It's going to be red text. So come here to customize format, fill, font, red text, yes, on what? On a yellow background. So fill here is what? The yellow background. Okay? Okay. So these are the ones that is what? Meeting is greater than in fact, these are the ones that are greater than the expected what? Expected CO2 level. Then white text, white still highlighted, white text on a dark green background if this was not the case. So here, if it was not the case, simply means that it's going to be less than or equals to. Does that make sense? Less than or equals to. So here, conditional formatting, highlight text, less than or equals to, more rules. So here will be what? Less than or equals to what? Right here, scroll, this. Format, what will the format be? White text on a what? On a dark green background. Dark green background. Click on OK. So we have this. All right. What else again? So this is done. This is done. Save your spreadsheet as CO2 followed by your center number underscore candidate number. So I'm going to copy this. Copy. So file, save as, browse. I'll paste it. Enter my center number. AN017. Candidate number is what? 2025. Done. So this is complete. Set the spreadsheet so that when it is scrolled, column A and row 1 to 3 remains on the screen. So in such a way that when we are scrolling, can you see that column A remains static and row 1 and 3 also remain static. So to do that, we're going to use what we call a pane. We need to freeze this column and this row. So for us to be able to freeze it, look at this. For us to be able to freeze this column, if I highlight this, I can be able to freeze this. But we also need to freeze the row as well. So what is going to be able to freeze column A? So I need to be in column B. And what should be able to freeze row 1, row 2, row 3? I need to be in what? Row 4. So here, I can come to what? View, under view, freeze pane, and I'll come here to what? Freeze pane. So now you can see that column A is freezed, row 1, 2, and 3 is also freezed. So if I highlight this, can you see that? This is done. Okay. So this is done. Save your spreadsheet. Save. What else? Protect all cells in column A and C. Protect all cells. For us to protect all cells, we need to check, right? We need to check if the cells are protected, if the whole cells are protected or not. So I'm going to select everything and then go to review, and under review, if I will right click on it, go to format cell, go to protection. You can see it's locked. So I need to uncheck this and click on what? Okay. First. Then column A, hold my control, column C, right? Row 17 to 20. Row 17 to 20. So I'll hold my control, row 17, 18, 19, 20. Go to review. And then right click on it, format cell, and I will lock it. So I'll click on OK. So it's locked. Now, they said, so that they cannot be edited when the worksheet is locked, leave all other cells unprotected. Can you see that? So that's why we have to check if everything was locked. So everything is on, the rest are unprotected. Protect the worksheet, but not the workbook. Using the password. This is the password here. Let me copy it. Copy. Using the password, this. Protect the worksheet, not the workbook. So I'll come here to protect worksheet. Now, look at select locked cells. I don't want them to be able to select locked cells because it's been locked. Look at what they said. They said so that they cannot be able, so that they cannot be edited when the worksheet is locked. So even if you put the password, they can still be able to edit it because it says select what? Locked cell. So I'm going to uncheck this. And then only they can only be able to select what? Unlocked cells. If I uncheck this one, they will not be able to select anything at all. Right? But now they can be able to select the unlocked one. But the ones that have been locked, they will not be able to select it. So I'll come here and I'll paste the password. And I'll click on OK. Ask me to re-enter, paste it, and then I'll click on what? OK. So now look at it. You'll not be able to select it. You can select this one, but you're not able to select this. What about row 17? You're not able to select row 17, but you can select row 16. You can select this, right? You can be able to look at it. You're not able to select this, but you can select this. You can select this, but you're not able to select this. That's what they want. Save your spreadsheet as protect. So I'll highlight this, copy this, file, save as, browse, paste, AN017, then 2025. So I'm going to save this, protect. So this is done. The expected carbon dioxide level passengers per minute has been changed by the government to 0.07. So come here, 0.07. Use your spreadsheet to model this change for this bus trip. So if by putting this, you see that only a few meet with the expected carbon dioxide what level, and we are now having what a percentage below this. So we have to save it with what as model followed by a center number underscore candidate number. So I'm going to copy this, copy, file, save as, browse, paste it, AN017, then 2025. So I'm going to save it. So this is the how to do this paper, right? Thank you for watching. Hope you have been able to learn. We've been able to do things like the lookup. We've been able to use hours, minutes, seconds. Um, we've been able to use our count ifs. We've been able to learn conditional formatting, how we can be able to lock our worksheet, how we can freeze our columns and rows and all that. So let me know in the comment section what you've been able to learn. And please do well to share this with your friends and classmates so they can learn as well. Hell, just you can also make it a good study, right? Make it a good study so that you can discuss about it as much as possible. And thank you so much. And if you have not subscribed to this YouTube channel, I do not know what you're waiting for, right? Thank you. Now see you in the next one. Bye for now.